If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you play Rocket League on a controller. However, if you can believe, among us exist players that play on a keyboard and mouse. Like controller players, KBM players come in a variety of manners, ranging from elite rlcs professionals to guys like Johnny Boy who inexplicably can make first touch look like world beaters. But historically, who are Rocket League's best keyboard and mouse players? Who is Rocket League's KBM GOAT? I've examined 4 candidates whose accolades stand head and shoulders above anyone else, so let's get into it. I think the most natural place to begin with is the modern day. And when it comes to the best KBM player right now in 2024, for the better part of 2 years, that man has been Drufinho. Drufinho tops a sneakily stacked list of South American KBM players. Going back to Season 7, Renan for Rocket League Esports would be among the region's first ever Worlds representatives, along with getting the region its first ever win versus rlcs competition at DreamHack Montreal with Lotus. Sadness for Team Secret and more recently Loud has regularly popped up at rlcs lands, notably placing a joint region best top 4 at the Rotterdam Major in 2022. Even players like KNS and Davitrucks have combined for multiple regional grand finals, making Sam proportionally the home of the world's best KBM talent, but Drufinho stands above all of them. A 15-year-old Drufinho bursts onto the scene in rlcs X with fellow KBM player Sadness as PDHM, immediately placing themselves among the top 5 teams in the region. In rlcs 21-22, still with Sadness, the addition of Rookie Knight made the squad, now under Noble Esports, among the favourites to qualify for lands out of South America. But alas, despite a grand final and 2 top 4s, in a format where points were awarded in the hundreds, Drufinho missed the fall major by 1 single point, and thus began his unfortunate distinction as the Sam Gatekeeper. Dropped in favour of Matt, Drufinho started a new project on Crew Esports with Pan and Bems. But despite having the best head-to-head record versus Furia out of anyone in the world, in the same season when Yanks was arguably the best player in the world, LAN qualifications continued to elude Drufinho. The start of rlcs 22-23 was probably the cruelest twist of fate. Furia had departed the region for North America, just as True Neutral had 1 year prior, thus opening up another land spot for South American teams to take. This time, Drufinho's crew did amass enough points to be top 2 in the region. Just so did Team Secret. And thus, the second ever LAN major tiebreaker was played out, which Drufinho and crew lost, missing LAN yet again. So Drufinho's early years saw him literally be the bridesmaid, but never the bride. But hey, I mentioned nowadays, Drufinho is the KBM king, and 2023 was the turning point. The well-defined duo of Brad and Drops reformed on crew with one goal in mind: to make Drufinho a star. And it paid off. The Winter Cup saw all of crew finally break through and get their first ever regional win. And despite being foiled in the Invitational by the very Team Secret team that kicked them way back when, crew would get another major tiebreaker, this time versus Exceed. And this time, they would succeed and qualify for the San Diego Major. And since then, it's been non-stop success for Drufinho. At that Winter Major, quite unexpectedly, crew placed in the top 8. And by improbably ending their 7-series all-time losing streak versus Team Secret via reverse sweep, they swung the balance of power in South America towards Drufinho. From that point on, they won 2 more regionals, were ever present at every LAN, and showed the world that Drufinho was not just notable for being the KBM king, but the South American MVP. His 2023 World Championship performance, particularly throughout the wildcard, earned many plaudits, and more importantly, the attention of Furia, who returned to Sam for rlcs 2024 with Drufinho in their squad, forming a super team that has gone from strength to strength and dominated the region. Now when it comes to ranking Drufinho among the KBM GOATs, he's an interesting case. Individually, in my opinion, he's been a top 20 player in the world across both 2023 and 2024, which is a notable threshold to cross, given, as you'll see, KBM players being top 5, top 10 in the world. That seldom happens. Accolades wise, obviously there are no LAN wins or grand finals, but the quantity of top 6s, top 8s, even a top 4 at London 3.0, that adds up. And it's not like he doesn't have the peak potential individually. With the highest respect to Brandon Drops, the work Drufinho put on Crew Esports to make them tick was immense. And on Furia, sure, while he's taking a backseat to Yanks and Lost, did you see him at the 2024 World Championship? Literally his best ever event, where he looked like Furia's star man most of the time. So ultimately, Drufinho is a prime example of South American excellence. But what about North America? What have they cooked up in the KBM department? Well, for the longest time, just a dude called Gino Cop, who placed 6th and 7th in the first 2 seasons of NA RLCS, and top 6 in 2 seasons of rlrs later. Yeah, not setting the world alight, but hey, the Open Era has given us Astro and a Patty. This is not a joke, by the way. These are actually the best NA KBM results on record. Like, APAC has at least had LCC stand out as one of the region's best ever players. MENA had impressive qualifying for the World Championship in 2022. Even SSA has had a KBM regional champion in Arcean. Whereas you mean to tell me that the NA KBM scene is so dire that Fisher is unironically a noticeable KBM player in the region? Man, this! Let's talk about a real major region. That's right, it's OCE, baby. And when it comes to KBM players, few, if any, are more historically notable than Mr. 2 and 3 in Swiss himself, Torsos. Like Drufinho, Torsos hails from a region with a decent track record of KBM players. Deca is a multiple-time regional champion, as well as being a World Championship participant. As is Zed. No, not that one. The other one. To tell Torsos' story would be to tell the story of OC at large. So, to greatly summarize, OC entered the RLCS in Season 3 and their number 1 team was already top 8 in the world, and making the big boys sweat. Top 8 became top 6, then top 4, but then Drippe left and the region went to shit. The end. Okay, in all seriousness, Torsos individually, while never individually at the level of Drippe, who peaked at top 10 in the world, definitely wasn't just making up the numbers while Chiefs consistently made deep bracket runs. In a post-Drippe OCE in Season 7, Torsos was the region's best player and close to his peak form, but the Drippe-shaped void was too big to fill, and it started a down year for Torsos of poor results. Despite placing top 8 in Season 8, Torsos individually was struggling, and he got dropped. He continued to just float by until RLCS X. Now that was one of the best years of Torsos' career as part of the dominant Ground Zero gaming roster. Just no one saw nor noticed because it was all online, and Ampus was somehow even better than him. Once Lance did return post-COVID, even by his own admission, Torsos' game was not up to standard, as with Power, he missed his first ever World Championship in 2022. So despite Power recovering from that and showing serious signs of potential at the 22-23 majors, many onlookers viewed Torsos' place on OC's number 1 team as a sign that the region just flat out sucked. And when Power didn't even make it past the wildcard stage of the 2023 World Championship, it was tough to disagree. However, 2024 has seen a legitimately strong year for Power, and with Torsos having one of his individual best years ever, many have come around on him and realized he's actually one of RL Esports' overall longevity goats. Think about it for a second. With the absolute high respect to guys like Shalset, Garrett, Kida, in the context of the all-time great debates, is just making a main event and placing very low in it even that relevant? Like, yes, they're still playing and they're still overall competitive players, but they're leagues away from qualifying for LANs. let alone doing anything interesting at them. To put a number on them, their relevant periods of longevity where they were actually competitively relevant on a global scale is about 6 years for all of them. Whereas Torsos is achieving perfect seasons in a region that's not even a meme anymore, and he still continues to threaten top 8s internationally. In totality, Torsos has like 7 years of legitimately relevant quality longevity. The only person in the esport who rivals that is freaking JDAPS. In the KBM GO convo, Torsos is just so fascinating to examine, because he pushes the longevity aspect versus the skills and accolades aspect to its absolute limits. 7 years is a long ass time. That's twice as long as Drufinho's been relevant. But with a higher respect, Torsos' individual peak is most likely the lowest out of anyone I'm going to talk about today. At best, he briefly cracked the world's top 20 in Season 6, maybe Season X, but that's it. That's not to say the level he has maintained for as long as he has isn't noteworthy, but at some point you do need a sustained period of top-end play. And of course, accolades-wise, there is that legendary top 4 for Chiefs in Season 6, as well as a bevy of top 6s and top 8s. But surely, and this applies to Drufinho as well, surely, in this convo, if you have a land win, you're automatically a front runner to be the KBM GOAT, right? Introducing Fruity. Nowadays known as a coach for the likes of Redemption and Jobless. More importantly to this topic, he is still to this day the most recent KBM LAN champion, but his path to success was a tad unconventional. After loitering in the bubble scene for the better part of 2 years to little major success, Fruity formed a team called the Bricks with Speed and Chakran, and they were really good, consistently threatening RLCS teams in G20 Cups and other third-party tournaments. For a team not even in the RLCS ecosystem at the time, you could say they were too good, to the point where, as was tradition at the time, teams that already guaranteed league play spots in RLCS and RLRs would just pick apart the top bubble teams, because for bubble players, guaranteed league play spots were just too good to ignore. Thus, Speed departed for Triple Trouble in RLRs, before an unlikely opening presented itself to Fruity. PSG Esports' late decision to part ways with Bluey left them scrambling to find a replacement, and Fruity emerged as the top candidate, meaning he would skip RLRs and be playing in RLCS Season 6 for the DreamHack Leipzig champions. Given the nature of the move and that the outgoing Bluey was still a top player, it was big shoes to fill, and thus expectations for PSG were fairly middling. The initial weeks were a trial by fire, but as the season went on, and some more established names in the EU crumbled, Fruity and PSG continued to trend upwards, and quite remarkably, qualified for the Season 6 World Championship, where they would eliminate G2 and place 7 to 8. Now individually, Fruity and PSG was always an interesting player to evaluate. To talk in very loose and general terms, I'm very aware this is a gross oversimplification of how the game works. PSG Esports with Fruity is probably the most successful a team has ever been with 2 quote-unquote support players. Farah post leftovers, while he could have some elite shooting, generally meant it his job to clear space as the first man for his more mechanical teammates behind him. Fruity, while not as aggressive or as physical as Farah, and definitely capable on the ball, somewhat doubled down on that supportive philosophy instead of trying to emulate Bluey's and Bex, and thus, the team existed to enable the monster that was Shawset 45. The 2019 results speak for themselves. Eliminating Dignitas to qualify for Season 7 Worlds, runners-up at the Rocket League Summit, RLCS Season 8 EU champions, and most notably, DreamHack Valencia champions. The literal burnt of the Fennec in pro play has been rightly glorified for the almighty, game-breaking peak of Shawset, but like, that was the culmination of Farah and Fruity's playstyle allowing the sock to be at its most lethal. And in terms of individual events, this was probably among the best Fruity ever played as well. Fruity in 2019 as a whole was comfortably in the prestigious top 20 players bracket for the entire year. And as I said, Drufinho Valencia is still the most recent time a KBM player has won a major international LAN, so it's not like Fruhi does not have merit to being the KBM GOAT. Now, as much as I love the dude and that PSG Reciprocity team, the reality is for contending for KBM GOAT, that run on PSG/Reciprocity is all there is. I would describe the rest of Fruhi's playing career, but that would mean I'd have to talk about Team Liquid and rlcs, and the less said about that the better. Whereas, basically at the same time as Fruhi, before, during, and after his time as a top player, existed another KBM star in EU, who by most metrics has had a better career, and in my opinion, ticks all the boxes that Drufinho and Torsos lack to be a worthy keyboard and mouse GOAT. That man is Yukeo. The Austrian sensation, without even playing in rlrs, was already touted as one of the big rookies to watch for 2018 by virtue of being the standout player in the EU 6-man's ladder. His excellence in 6-mans earned him a direct tryout with Flipside Tactics right as 2018 started, and once he managed to place top 8 at DreamHack Leipzig when Jesse at the summit for Mystic, it was very easy for F3 to make the move official, and make Yukeo the first KBM player in EU rlcs history. Unfortunately, due to Team Envy being very good at specifically beating Flipside, Season 5 Worlds would elude them. But with a bracket reset victory over the Dignitas Dynasty, they still qualified for the second Northern Arena Invitational, where they beat Cloud9 and placed an impressive 3rd place. Yukeo continued to ball out as 2018 rolled on. A Game 5 0-second winner qualified Flipside for the Season 6 World Championship, where they placed 5th, and despite the legendary Cookster 97 being close to his peak form, the E-League Cup saw Yukeo surpass him and emerge as one of Europe's best players, period. He was so good that when K-Dop shockingly left the Dignitas Dynasty, Yukeo was chosen to replace him, and he quickly justified the decision by helping Dignitas win DreamHack Leipzig over K-Dop's Vitality in the finals, thus enshrining Yukeo as the first ever KBM LAN champion. The second half of 2019 would be a new era for Dignitas, as Turbo the Parade and Astral joined. Yet Yukeo made himself a player you just could not ignore. In the pass-heavy meta that Dignitas mastered, whether he was distributing or receiving the ball, Yukeo kept the team ticking, and the results showed. 3rd at Rocket League Summit, 5th ace at DreamHack Montreal, top 4 at the Season 8 World Championship, and within a whisker of making the Grand Finals. The only slip up on LAN in Yukeo's entire career was 9th-12th at DreamHack Valencia. Otherwise, through 11 LANs, Yukeo placed top 5 at 10 of them, and has at the time of recording the 21st highest average LAN placing of all time. On screen are the names above Yukeo on that list, and you'll see he's in some very good company. Unlike Fruhi, Yukeo would also find success into the pandemic era of rlesports. Dignitas very notably won the Season 9 European Championship, and also got 2nd at Spring Series. And in rlcs X, Yukeo's new team Ether would make a regional final and place top 4 at the European Spring Major. All in all, Yukeo has had 4 years of relevant quality longevity, from 2018 through 2021. With the 2-year period from rlcs Season 6 to Season 9 seeing Yukeo consistently being a top 20 player and flirting with top 10 status at his best. I personally feel that the cursed run he had on Heroic in 2022 has just made people forget how historically good he was. Because when you contrast and compare Yukeo's accolades, his individual level and his longevity, he's someone you have to put in your top 40 or top 50 players of all time, KBM or controller. And in the bigger picture of rlesports history, that's pretty damn good. Almost certainly though, with respect to Torsos of course, for many, Yukeo is the player that normalized the fact that KBM players could actually be cracked in this game. And for that, for being the first KBM player to win a LAN, for being top 2 in terms of KBM longevity, and quite frankly, playing the best a KBM player relatively ever has, Rocket League's keyboard and mouse GOAT is Yukeo. Hello, Editing John here. If you've made it this far, thanks for watching. Sorry it just took a very long time to come out when I promised I'd do more of this in 2024, but the reality is I haven't been that motivated this year and I'm not going to force creative works. But if you want to keep tabs on when I next release something, be sure to like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it a lot. I'm not going to make any promises on when the next video comes out. Like I said, I genuinely don't know. But when it happens, it happens. Regardless, much love for everyone who's still watching at this point. Take care, stay safe, and peace.